How arrogant! Caspian glared and angrily declared, "You dare underestimate me. Today, I'll make you wish you were dead." With a flick of a wrist, a large amount of black smoke sprayed out from Caspian's long sleeves, pressing toward Dustin like a tidal wave. Dustin lightly blew, and a strong wind rose, causing a whirlwind of sand and stones. The black smoke that had just rushed towards him was instantly blown away with even greater force. What? Caspian's expression changed slightly. He frantically waved his long sleeves, forming a true energy barrier that shielded him from most of the black smoke. However, a small portion of the residue drifted toward Ezra. Ezra first froze, then felt an intense itch all over his body. He scratched uncontrollably. Why is it so itchy? What was that thing just now? The more he scratched, the more unbearable the itch became. In a matter of seconds, his body was covered in bloody scratches, especially his face, which was torn and disfigured. Ah! Ezra screamed in pain. He couldn't control himself, relentlessly scratching as if he wanted to tear himself apart. "Sir Yuletide, save me!" he shouted in despair. At this rate, he might actually die from the scratch wounds. "You're truly useless." Caspian frowned slightly, immediately taking out a bottle of potion and pouring it on Ezra. After a few moments, Ezra finally stopped scratching. However, he now looked disfigured and covered in blood. Mystic Arts orders flea powder. That's cool. Dustin squinted. Quickly catching on, it was clear that Caspian wasn't any average mystic artist, but an elite from the Mystic Arts Order. "Oh, a mystic artist. No wonder you saw through my moves." Caspian gave Dustin a once-over. His gaze shone with excitement. That surprise attack moments ago would have been tough for a regular martial artist to handle. But Dustin had effortlessly diffused a danger with a slight breath, showcasing his skill. "Ah, my face. My handsome face." Ezra, now poison-free, howled in pain, covering his blooded face. He roared, "Sir Yuletide, take him down for me. I want to rip him to shreds." "You're noisy." Caspian's face darkened, and with a backhand slap, he sent Ezra flying. He was a master at being unpredictable. "As fellow mystic artists, why don't you kneel and apologize to me, then become my disciples? What do you say?" Caspian proposed, a sinister smile playing on his lips. His disciple was dead, and he needed someone to run errands and hunt for prey. Someone as talented as Dustin was suitable. "Become your disciple." "You're not even worthy," Dustin sneered. "Why don't you piss off and reflect on what kind of person you are? Trash like you don't even deserve to be a human. You're asking for death." Caspian instantly flared up. No more words were exchanged. He shot two black shadow-like projections at Dustin, aiming for his eyes. Dustin drew an X in the air with his hand and effortlessly cut the two projections into four, causing them to fall to the ground, staining them with blood. They were two black snakes, severed in half. "What?" Caspian's face changed. These two snakes were carefully cultivated over several years, highly toxic, and extremely fast. Even a grandmother martial artist would find it hard to defend themselves against them. Yet, this bastard didn't even dodge. He just swung his hands twice and killed his precious snakes. It was downright terrifying. "Who the heck are you?" Caspian dropped the attitude, and his gaze turned serious. "Who I am is none of your business. Scums like you in the martial world don't deserve to live." Dustin raised his hand slowly, pointing it at Caspian from a distance. Swoosh! A scorching white brilliance shot out instantly, like a sword unsheathing and thrusting straight at Caspian's chest. This move seemed unremarkable at first glance, but it had the power to eradicate God. "What?" Caspian's breath hitched as if someone had gripped his throat, a wave of fear instantly shrouding him. Without time to think, he immediately crossed his arms in front of his chest, exerting all his energy to form a protective shield. Bang, bang, bang! There were 3 consecutive explosions. First, Caspian's energy shield shattered. Then, Caspian's arms exploded into pieces. Lastly, Caspian was sent flying several feet away like a projectile fired from a cannon, crashing heavily into the wall. Blood streamed from his nose and mouth. His chest clothes were torn, revealing the damaged protective armor underneath. But at this moment, the armor was already in tatters. At the point of impact, the chest armor was deeply concave and twisted, creating a gaping hole. What? In the corner, Ezra stood wide-eyed, witnessing the unbelievable scene. The once revered Caspian, an elite of the Mystic Arts Order, crumpled under a single strike from Destin. Caspian, someone close to reaching the grandmother status, was easily overpowered by Destin. It was unimaginable. What? You're not dead yet, Destin raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised. Even with just 10% of the force, that last hit could have taken out anyone below the grandmother level. The armor took the hit and saved Caspian from getting a chest-sized hole through him. Caspian coughed up blood, and bones seemed to have shattered. Even with the protective armor, his chest crumbled like twigs, and his internal organs were severely damaged. How can you be so powerful? Are you a grandmother? Caspian questioned, shocked. Caspian's face contorted in fear as he clutched his chest in pain. Despite being halfway to becoming a grandmother, he was defeated by someone so young as Destin. It left him questioning Destin's mysterious origins and immense strength. No, you've got it wrong. I'm not a grandmother martial artist, Destin replied, shaking his head. If you're not a grandmother, how in the world did you beat me? Caspian questioned. You're mistaken. I'm not just a grandmother. You need to add a word in front of it, corrected Destin. Add a word. Caspian was puzzled, and then his body began to tremble. Why you? Are you the ultimate grandmother? Congratulations, you got it right, replied Destin nonchalantly. No, that's impossible. Caspian shook his head frantically, refusing to believe. You're so young. How could you be an ultimate grandmother? Even the most outstanding prodigies can't reach such a level at this age. For a martial artist in their 20s to be an ultimate grandmother was unheard of in the history of Dragon Marsh. Caspian couldn't wrap his mind around it. It's up to you to believe it or not, said Destin. Without explaining further, he continued to approach. Add a word. Caspian was puzzled, and then his body began to tremble. Why you? Are you the ultimate grandmother? Congratulations, you got it right, replied Destin nonchalantly. No, that's impossible. Caspian shook his head frantically, refusing to believe. You're so young. How could you be an ultimate grandmother? Even the most outstanding prodigies can't reach such a level at this age. For a martial artist in their 20s to be an ultimate grandmother was unheard of in the history of Dragon Marsh. Caspian couldn't wrap his mind around it. It's up to you to believe it or not, said Destin. Without explaining further, he continued to approach. You done yapping? If so, then go ahead and die. Double quotes. Destin showed no mercy as he raised his hand, delivering a powerful strike to Caspian's head. Stop right there. Just as Destin was about to finish Caspian, a sudden shout cut through the air. At the same time, a projectile shot out of the shadows. A deadly dart aimed right at Destin's back. Destin raised an eyebrow, swiftly turned around, and caught the dart with 2 fingers. Upon taking a closer look, it was a poison dart. It emanated a dark aura, sporting the mark written Mystic. It was an object from Mystic Arts Order. Who are you? You dare to attack a disciple of the Mystic Arts Order. You've got some nerve. At this moment, an old woman in black robes emerged from the shadows. The old lady had a weathered appearance, a petite figure that seemed ordinary, but her eyes were exceptionally cold and sharp, like venomous snakes. It instilled fear in anyone who caught her gaze. Madame Beatrix, save me. Seeing her, Caspian acted like he had just found a lifeline. He stumbled towards her, seeking refuge. Though others might not know, he knew that Beatrix was an elder of the Mystic Arts Order, a grandmother martial artist. Unlike regular grandmasters, her mastery of mystic arts had peaked. making her a formidable force with deadly techniques. 8 years ago, 3 grandmasters tried to ambush Beatrix. She not only defeated them single-handedly, but one was dead and the other two were severely injured. Since then, she gained a fearsome reputation, and none dared to provoke her. Useless. You got yourself into such a sorry state against a brat like him. You're a disgrace to the Mystic Arts Order. Beatrix frowned as she observed Caspian drenched in blood, clearly displeased. The Mystic Arts Order, known as the top evil sect, had reached a point where its name struck fear into the hearts of everyone. When did they become so feeble? Madame Beatrix, you've no idea. This bastard is a grandmother martial artist. He's damn strong. Caspian pleaded with a mournful expression. Oh, is that so? Beatrix scrutinized Destin, surprised. Achieving grandmother status at such a young age marked him as a top-tier talent, even within the Mystic Arts Order. Young one, what's your name? And who is your mentor? Beatrix inquired cautiously. A young prodigy like him would undoubtedly have an exceptional background. If she just exterminated him without thinking, it could stir up a whole mess of problems. Who I am doesn't matter. I'm here for justice, Destin responded calmly. This person by your side tried to kill me. Hand him over, and today's incident will be forgotten. Humph, you sure got the guts to take my men. Beatrix narrowed her eyes. It seems you don't know the might of the Mystic Arts Order. I won't cause trouble with the Mystic Arts Order, but when someone crosses me, I settle the score. Otherwise, I can't sleep soundly. So today, he's going down. Destin pointed at Caspian. You're one cocky brat. Madame Beatrix's face darkened. Looks like you don't understand the power of the Mystic Arts Order. With those words, she shot forward, delivering a palm strike toward Destin's chest. Her bony hand emitted a poisonous aura, enough to deter even a grandmother martial artist from taking it head-on. Destin huffed, and his expression turned cold. He pushed out a palm without dodging or evading, colliding head-on with Beatrix's venomous strike. Boom, a resounding explosion echoed. Destin stood unfazed while Madame Beatrix was sent more than 10 steps back, finally halting at the living room entrance. In an instant, Beatrix's arm felt numb, and her heartbeat quickened. What's happening? She watched her trembling arm in shock. Beatrix was skilled in both mystic and martial arts, and had nearly achieved the rank of a grandmother. But now, she found herself at a disadvantage against Destin. Just how strong was this kid? How about now? Still want to stand in my way? Destin remained indifferent, hoping to teach her a lesson so she'd back off for certain reasons. You're formidable, young man. I admire that. Beatrix took a deep breath, suppressing the surging blood within. Unfortunately, you're destined to lose today. Look at your palm. It's turning black, isn't it? Your poison is useless against me. Destin shook his head. His body was immune to poisons, especially after breaking through. Useless. Beatrix sneered. Young man, you're overestimating yourself and underestimating the Mystic Arts Order. The toxin we've used is lethal even for grandmasters. Right now, you're infected, and your time is running out. If you retreat promptly and seal your circulatory pathways, you might last for a few more days. But if you persist in challenging me, you're sending yourself to an early death. You should consider the consequences. Hearing this, Caspian grinned. No matter how powerful someone was, they had to bow down in front of the Mystic Arts Order. Destin, you're already poisoned and have little time left. If I were you, I'd kneel and beg for mercy. Maybe you can save yourself. Ezra mocked, reveling in Destin's predicament. When Caspian was defeated earlier, it had frightened him to the core. Fortunately, Beatrix's timely arrival had averted a crisis. I told you, and you don't believe me. Go ahead, try again. But this time, I won't hold back, Destin declared coldly. Fine, since you wish for death so much, I'll help you. Beatrix raised her hand, gathering a black mist that formed a ball. It expanded slowly and seemed like a slowly opening abyss. ready to consume everything. Caspian and Ezra instinctively moved back a distance. They knew that Beatrix was about to unleash a powerful move. Hold on! Just as Madame Beatrix was about to strike, a cold voice echoed at the entrance. A white-haired, red-clad, and gorgeous young woman strolled in nonchalantly. Behind her, a group of intimidating figures in black robes followed. These were high-ranking members of the Mystic Arts Order, with some being elders and guardians. Beatrix's expression changed at the sight of the white-haired young woman. She quickly knelt. "I greet the Grand Sorceress." Grand Sorceress! Caspian and Ezra exchanged glances. They didn't dare to hesitate and immediately knelt with their heads bowed, shouting in unison, "We greet the Grand Sorceress." The white-haired young woman paid no attention to the three and walked straight to Dustin, smiling sweetly. "Sir, what a coincidence! We meet again." "Abigail?" Dustin stared at the sudden appearance of the white-haired young woman, genuinely surprised. The young woman was his only disciple, Abigail. It was unexpected for them to meet again after so many years, and she had undergone noticeable changes. She had become more beautiful and exuded a profound and mysterious aura. Her every move was graceful. "Hi, sir. Surprised to see me." She smiled. "Kid, it's been so long." "Not even a call to say you're well," Dustin said, intentionally keeping a stern face. He lightly tapped Abigail's head with his knuckles, shocking the Mystic Arts Order's high-level members. They couldn't believe their eyes. However, contrary to their expectations, the Grand Sorceress wasn't angry. Instead, she looked a bit guilty. She charmingly said, "Sir, I've been in seclusion. I just came out a few days ago, and things got a bit hectic. I genuinely forgot for a moment." The high-level members of the Mystic Arts Order were dumbfounded. What was going on? Wasn't this the same person who was ruthless and cold a moment ago? Wasn't this the Grand Sorceress who suppressed many dissenters with an iron fist? Wasn't she the one who single-handedly destroyed several martial world sects opposing the Mystic Arts Order after she was out of her seclusion? Yet, unexpectedly in front of Dustin, she appeared gentle like a little bunny. "All right, regardless, it's good to see you safe," Dustin smiled. The Mystic Arts Order was like a labyrinth of power and influence. He had genuine concerns about Abigail joining them, fearing she might encounter unforeseen dangers. However, it now appeared evident that she had the skills to handle any challenges that came her way. "Sir, what's going on here? Did someone mess with you?" Abigail asked casually. "Nothing, just a minor issue." Dustin smiled casually, saying, "Consider it settled for your sake. I won't hold it against them." "Madame Beatrix, what just happened?" Abigail turned her gaze towards Beatrix. Well, Beatrix hesitated momentarily, glancing towards Caspian, who was kneeling beside her. "You tell," Abigail nudged Caspian. Though anxious and fearful, Caspian had no choice but to explain the situation. He briefly recounted what had happened, not daring to hide anything. In the eyes of the Grand Sorceress, he was like an insignificant ant. He had to be cautious of every word he uttered. "Haha, so that's how it is," Abigail suddenly laughed. Her eyes, however, were chillingly indifferent. "Do you guys even know who you were dealing with?" Before anyone could reply, she declared confidently, "He's my mentor, the one who saved my life, and the only family I have in this world." "What mentor?" The room turned into a mess. Beatrix, Caspian, and Ezra stood frozen, shocked by the unexpected revelation. The idea that Dustin and Abigail had a mentor-disciple relationship, especially with the latter being the Grand Sorceress, was beyond what they had expected. How is that possible? How could this guy be connected to the Grand Sorceress of the Mystic Arts Order? Ezra widened his eyes, his fear evident. He shook uncontrollably. Eleanor claimed that Dustin was just an ordinary guy. How could he have such a powerful backing? "If you're going to take down my mentor, it's like taking me down," Abigail declared coldly, walking forward. Her icy gaze swept across the three, making each of them shudder. assassinating the grand sorceress of the mystic arts. Or do you realize the severity of that crime? Grand sorceress, please have mercy. Please have mercy on me. Caspian quickly bowed, pleading for forgiveness. Grand sorceress, I've seen the error of my ways. I beg you to spare me this time. Grand sorceress, I've been falsely accused. Please spare me. Beatrix joined in, repeatedly banging her head on the ground. As for Ezra, he was left in a state of shock, sitting on the ground with a face full of despair. Mercy. Abigail's voice remained indifferent. You've committed countless atrocities and violated our rules. Trash like you is just wasting the air in this world. With a flick of her fingers, a black ray shot out like a bullet, piercing through Caspian's forehead and leaving behind a bloody hole. Caspian stiffened, his eyes wide. The next moment, his head exploded, and blood splattered everywhere. He was dead and dismembered. Seeing this, Beatrix paled, continuing her desperate pleas for mercy. Grand sorceress, have mercy. I know nothing. I have done nothing wrong. I've always been loyal and followed the rules. Please, Grand sorceress, I'm telling the truth. Madame Beatrix, don't be nervous. I'm in a good mood today, so I won't kill you. Abigail sounded like she was sparing Beatrix's life. But while you escape death, you can't escape punishment. Cut off one of your arms as an apology to my mentor. Thank you for sparing me. Grand sorceress. Beatrix didn't hesitate, immediately drawing a short knife and severing one of her arms. Despite the excruciating pain, she gritted her teeth, not daring to make a sound. Sir, is this punishment satisfactory? Abigail turned around, her demeanor changing from the previous ruthlessness to harmless and innocent, like a diligent student seeking praise from her teacher. It's fine, Dustin nodded, but he felt mixed feelings inside. After not seeing each other for a while, it was clear that Abigail's personality had changed significantly. The previous Abigail wouldn't dare harm a fly, but now taking a life seemed as casual to her as picking what to have for lunch, as if it was a common occurrence. Her experiences, particularly the loss of her father, had led to this transformation, which made sense in its twisted way. However, Dustin couldn't be certain whether this change was for the better or worse. Was the Abigail standing before him the same girl he knew before? Sir, what about this guy? You decide. Abigail glared at Ezra, who was on his knees. If looks could kill, Ezra would be dead by now. At that moment, Ezra snapped out of his daze, pleading, Dustin, please don't kill me. I messed up. I won't mess with you again. I swear, I won't cross you from now on. Please, spare me. Spare you? Dustin chuckled. After all your ploys to mess with me, you think I'd just let you off. Does that even make sense? Ezra crawled over, grabbed Dustin's leg, and bawled, Dustin. No, Cerise. It wasn't me. It was all Eleanor's crazy idea. I just followed orders. Please, I'm begging you, let me off the hook. Eleanor? Dustin narrowed his eyes. Tell me, was this attempt on my life payback, or did you have another scheme? Ezra didn't hesitate and disclosed. Due to the Dew bomb issue, we faced setbacks. So Eleanor proposed to kidnap and rough you up. They're hoping to extract more of top-notch formula to recover our losses and rebuild our reputation. That woman is cold-blooded. I did her favors multiple times and even saved her life. And she pays me back with this revenge. She's pushing me all my buttons. I'd be in deep trouble by now if I were just a regular guy. Dustin said, his gaze cold. Yeah, that woman repays good deeds with bad. I never liked her. Ezra nodded vigorously. Cerise, spare my life, and I'll be your right-hand man. I can help you deal with Eleanor and make her pay for her crap. Eleanor is your fiancée. Are you really okay with betraying her? Dustin asked in a knowing tone. What fiancé? We're just in an arranged marriage for the alliance between our families. There is no personal connection. Plus, who could like such a conniving woman? Ezra complained. He'd never be with Eleanor if it weren't for his old man's strict orders. Given your sincerity, I'll allow you to make things right, Dustin said coolly. Go back and tell the Welch family they've got 3 days to hand over the precious herb I need. If not, I'm tearing them down. Okay, I got it. I'll deliver the message. Ezra nodded repeatedly. I don't want anyone else to know about today's events. Got it. Dustin glared menacingly at Ezra. Got it? Got it. Ezra nodded repeatedly. All right. Now scram. Dustin waved his hand. Thank you, Cerise. Ezra nodded a few times, then hightailed it out of the old mansion. He looked as if he'd been scared out of his mind. Sir, he tried to harm you. You just letting him go. Abigail was a bit puzzled. This guy still has some use. Let him stick around a bit longer, Dustin said it casually. He could have easily killed Ezra, but that would surely cause both the Welch and Swanson families to come at him. He was not scared, but it could complicate things and mess with the bigger plan. So he chose to instill fear in Ezra. With Ezra's words, he could spread how formidable Dustin was and make the Swanson family realize how pointless it was to mess with him. Then he could simultaneously cut ties with the Welch family. This would leave the Welch family on their own, making them easier to handle. All right, as long as you're happy, sir, Abigail sweetly smiled. A nobody like Ezra was just small fries, and whether he lived or died wasn't a big deal. Abigail, how long have you been in Oakvale? Dustin changed the subject. I just got here, Abigail spilled. The Mystic Arts Order snagged a big business deal recently. Grandma told me to lead the team a chance too. Gain experience and enjoy a little vacation. You know, let loose and have some fun out here. Whoa, so many members from the Mystic Arts Order are involved in this business deal. It must be something big, Dustin exclaimed, looking surprised. Several grandmother martial artists stood behind. Abigail, some on the verge of becoming grandmasters, and others who had become divine-level martial artists with such power, which was exceptionally rare. They were more than capable of taking on the 4 ancient houses. This is indeed significant because the person who initiated this deal is... Abigail was about to speak, but an elder behind her interrupted. Grand Sorceress, this is a crucial Mystic Arts Order secret. It must not be disclosed to outsiders. What? Abigail glanced back. Her gaze startled the elder, who visibly shivered. Let me make this clear. This person is my mentor, not an outsider. You better watch your words. I apologize. The elder immediately lowered his head, genuinely fearful. Abigail, forget about it, Dustin said, shaking his head. Since it's a secret, I won't pry. I'm not a fan of trouble. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sure then, Abigail flashed a smile, not pushing the matter further. Revealing this secret could indeed bring some risks for Dustin. Sir, I'm feeling a bit hungry. Would you take me for a late-night snack? Abigail pouted, sounding playful. No problem. You just arrived in Oakvale. Tonight, I'll treat you to some good food and help you unwind. The next morning, in a VIP ward at South City Hospital, Ezra, covered in bandages, lay unconscious on the hospital bed. After narrowly escaping danger the previous night, he rushed home only to collapse, leading to an urgent hospitalization. Doctor, how is my son? Is there any danger? Barry asked, looking worried. Mr. Swanson, please rest assured. Your son suffered superficial injuries only, and we've carefully treated them. It's nothing serious, the doctor reassured him. That's a relief, Barry sighed but asked again. But why hasn't my son woken up yet after all this time? Your son experienced shock last night, and his emotions were unstable. We administered a sedative to let him sleep peacefully, aiding in his recovery. He should wake up soon, the doctor explained. As the doctor finished speaking, Ezra slowly opened his eyes. He's awake. He's really awake. Barry's face brightened. He quickly approached the bed, asking with concern, Ezra, how do you feel? Do you feel any discomfort anywhere in your body? Dad, how did I end up here? Ezra looked around, confused. When you came home last night, you were covered in blood, and it scared me. Fortunately, the timely treatment saved you from any life-threatening danger. Barry explained sternly. Ezra, what exactly happened? Who hurt you like this? Tell me, and I'll make sure justice is served for you. Last night? Ezra first appeared puzzled, then seemed to recall something. His expression changed, and he exclaimed, Dad, notify everyone immediately. Cancel all collaborations with the Welch family. From now on, our ties with them are severed. What? Barry raised an eyebrow, puzzled. He observed Ezra, who appeared to be emotionally disturbed. Inwardly, Barry couldn't help but wonder, is there something wrong with his head? Why is he spouting nonsense? Dad, stop standing there and give the order quickly, or our Swanson family will be in real trouble. Ezra urged impatiently. Ezra had been haunted by Destin's words from the previous night. He might have avoided one disaster, but it didn't guarantee their safety. It could lead to deadly consequences if they continued. Associating with the Welch family, he reminded himself that Destin was not just a martial arts expert but also the mentor of the Grand Sorceress of the Mystic Arts Order. With a single command, he could easily wipe out the Swanson family. In the face of a powerful dark sect and a prominent family, even the four ancient houses would be no match for them. Doctor, you assured me my son was fine. Why is he talking nonsense as soon as he wakes up? Barry turned to the doctor with a barrage of questions. The doctor remained speechless. Ezra, we've had a long-standing business relationship with the Welch family. We're already deeply connected. Don't forget, you have a marriage contract with Eleanor. It's not that simple to break it off. Barry shook his head. There would be a high price to pay if they cut ties with the Welch family without a solid reason. And Barry wasn't willing to risk it. Ezra, were you threatened? Barry furrowed his brow. His son had always been composed. Barry had never seen him act like this before. Dad, due to certain reasons, I can't reveal all the details. Just trust my decision and sever all connections with the Welch family. And we shouldn't confront Destin. He's not someone we can mess with. Ezra spoke solemnly. Dad, when it's a matter of life and death, we must make tough choices, even if it means heavy losses. We can't afford to be associated with the Welch family anymore. Ezra's expression was serious. Well, Barry rubbed his chin, starting to contemplate. It was clear that his son had suffered some kind of setback. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so restless as the heir of a wealthy family. And all of this was connected to Destin. The problem was, could an ordinary guy have such capabilities? Or was he hiding something? Ezra, at that moment, Eleanor walked into the ward carrying a fruit basket. Eleanor, you're here. Please have a seat, Barry greeted with a polite smile, maintaining a calm demeanor. Mr. Swanson, Eleanor greeted him, then turned her gaze to the bandaged Ezra, surprised. Ezra, what happened? How did you get injured like this? Humph, I'm like this, all thanks to you, Ezra said unkindly. Me? Eleanor was stunned. Ezra, are you joking? What does it have to do with me?